I just been thinking I don't make a lot of content anymore, but I kind of do. Anyway, so I've been thinking about my blessings lately. Yeah, my body's beat up. I've been driving a truck for 30 years, whatever, but I can still, you know, chain up. I've had to chain up twice this last couple days, full chain up. And I'm going to probably have to chain up tonight, and I'll probably have to chain up tomorrow, but whatever. But I can do it, and I've still been able to get both my loads, even though I've had all this extra time having to chain up. And each time I chain up all 8 drive tires, it takes me about an hour to get them on, or 50 minutes to get them on, and 23 minutes to get it off the last time I did it. But, and then I was thinking about some of my other blessings, but before I get to that, I was just thinking about how I love God with all my heart, but I kind of resent some of the things that's happened in my life in the last 5 years. Um, we lost our baby boy, Ezekiel Calvin John Lichtenwalter, when he was 17 months gestation. We were going to see the ultrasound, and we had our whole family in there to do the ultrasound, and he had passed away. And that was just a shock because we were so excited to have him come into our family. And my wife had to give birth to him, and it was a hard deal for both of us. And then we had our son Arius, and love him to death. I mean, I'm so happy that he's part of our family. But then we had another birth, and he's 5 now. He'll be 6 in June. Anyway, and then we had our baby daughter, Emma, and my wife was in the hospital for 2 months trying to keep her body from giving birth to this child. And they had a PICC line in her. She couldn't get out of bed. She was having pretty close to panic attacks over things like, especially, well, it wasn't great. And I had 5 kids at home. One of them was only 18 months old, I think. And like I needed help because I was working 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, taking 1 day off a week. And my mom, who I was talking to at that point, she actually lives 45 miles from us. So it's 45 miles from Huntington, Utah to Fairview, and she lives over there. And we live about 6 miles outside of Huntington, Utah, out in the countryside. And she wouldn't even come over to help. And she, like my grandparents, bought her a house. They actually bought her 2 houses. Well, they bought one to rent to her for like, I don't know, it was whatever, back when I was a kid. And then they bought her her other house, like a $350,000 house, about, I don't know, that was like 2005-ish, 2006. And like she doesn't even work. She just collects her Social Security and everything's paid off, you know. And she wouldn't come over the mountain to help out. And like my wife needed me to be in the hospital with her, so I was spending time in the hospital, and my son was 16 at the time, and it was during COVID, so they wouldn't allow the kids to come. Well, I guess it was before COVID, but they couldn't be in the room with her, you know, and I couldn't take them. And my wife's sisters and mom, they all said, "Oh, we'll come out and we'll stay with you for a while," and they all live on the East Coast, up in New Hampshire, New York, North Carolina, but they were willing to do that for my wife and my family, but my own family wasn't willing to do that for me, for my wife or my family. And I was like desperate, and I told my mom, I need you to help me out. If you can't help me out, then I'll cut you off. I haven't spoken to my biological father since 2006. And I said, if I cut you off, that's it. And she says, well, your problems are your problems. And like, my sisters wouldn't help out. My brother wouldn't help out. Nobody would help. And, I cut all of them off. I mean, I just recently cut my two sisters and my brother off because, like, they've never made an attempt to come and visit me or see me. Like, they don't tell me when they're doing things so that I can go see them. And the only relationship we have is, like, they're friends with me on Facebook, but they very rarely say anything to me. And then my three sisters through my biological dad, but not my mom, like, I haven't spoke to them since 2006. And then I've got, like, I think 3 other siblings that I've never even met, and, like, I don't talk to anybody in my family anymore, and it makes me upset, or I am upset because of it. But it's like I'm not even part of their family anymore, and I never really was. Like, my grandparents helped raise me, and they're both dead. But at the same time, like, I have such a wonderful family. I love them all so much. Even the pain in the butt teenagers. I mean, our son's 19, and our daughter's 16, and we've got a 11-year-old and one that'll be 10 shortly, and then our 6-year-old, or well, our 5-year-old. But, like, I love them to death, and I love spending as much time with them. I don't even, like, I have friends, but I never see them because I just want to be wherever my wife is and wherever my family is when I'm not working, But anyway, so, I'm blessed to be able to do this job, which I absolutely love, even on nights like tonight where there's, like, a big storm and whatever. And, like, last night there was avalanche warnings because I go over this 9,114 foot pass with 8% grades with a 105,000 pound truck, with loaded anyway, and I love this job, and I can do it even though I'm exhausted and sore at the end of 5 days or 4 days of 14-hour days. And, like, this week I had 2 15-hour days, and then yesterday was a 14-hour day. This is going to be a 14-hour day, and then I'll probably be able to get this loaded, but somebody else will have to deliver it tomorrow, and I'll run my 70 hours out, which is how many hours I am allowed as a truck driver. And then, on the 31st, I'll head over to Roosevelt to see some friends where my wife, one of my best friends, I have 2 best friends, and then I've got other friends too, but one of my best friends lives in Roosevelt with his wife, and all their kids are gone. But, like, we go over there multiple times a year and just enjoy playing cards together and talking and having meals together and whatever. And they're my family. And my other person that I consider family lives up in Salt Lake with his wife, and we're able to do things with them as well. But speaking of the blessings, so I will be spending New Year's Eve and New Year's Day with my friends in Roosevelt, and he's like an old oil field buddy of mine from when I was oil filled back from 2008 to 2010. In fact, his job was to be a night mechanic out in the field where we had a shop, and my job was to do all this emergency stuff spread out between XTO, Anadarko, EOG, and Chevron. And most of the time I was alone, unless it was like a big deal, because like I was emergency management or emergency cleanup basically. And but most of the time to keep me busy, they'd like have me doing grunt work. So because I was out there at night all the time, they had him in the shop, and like if I needed help, I'd get him on the two-way radio and he'd come out and help me. And I became really good friends with him. And have been really good friends with him for many years. But so my wife's like, you say like, there's people like this week. I had 3 probably 19, 20-year-old kids like harassing me at Sam's Club, and they were stepping up like they were gonna like fight me or whatever, but like when I threw down and went after them, they all ran away. Like I don't ever start fights, but I won't back down from one. I don't care how big you are. I'm flipping. I got some grit. But anyway, but one of the blessings this week is like, so there, like, I don't need this, but it was something that I thought, oh, that'd be cool. So there was this 85-inch TV, and it was on clearance for like $500. And I was like, oh, that'd be fun to have that, in our bedroom. Like we don't have anything like that in the living room, but like my wife and I like to, sometimes watch these goofy Pure Flix movies that my wife loves. But anyway, I was like, yeah, we could get a TV for our bedroom, and that'd be perfect. And like my wife was like, it's not going to fit on the dresser. I was like, yes, it will. It will be fine. And actually, it does. It barely fits, but it fits anyway. But somebody bought it, and I was like, oh well. There was only one left, and we didn't need it anyway, and whatever. So right before Christmas, we go in there, and it's like back, and they're selling it as an open box clearance now for $304. So I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to get this. In fact, I like stood by the box, by the TV, and I was like, I'm not leaving anywhere and we were in the car. So I said, I'm not going anywhere until we buy this thing because somebody else is going to snatch it up. And anyway, in fact, I was like leaning up against it, and there was these people like looking at it, and like I didn't say anything, but I was like basically nope. Anyway, so my wife drives over and gets the well, it's not little, but it's an SUV. It's a Palisade. It's really nice, actually. But anyway, so I was like, oh, it'll fit. Well, we got it. My wife went out, got the vehicle, and it doesn't fit. And I was like, like it's too wide to get in the car. So I'm like, well, we don't have roof racks, but they do sell roof racks at Walmart. So I was like, I'll go get those. And we tried to put those on, and they weren't wide enough. And I was like, what are we going to do? And there's this guy. So my wife is a kindergarten teacher, and one of the kids that she taught, like, we have this little club of older people that have younger kids. And my wife, she was like a kindergarten teacher for these kids. And now we're really good friends with this group of people, And like, there's this guy, Scott, and I never see him anywhere. I only see him at his house. Like, I'm only saying very rarely because I don't remember ever seeing him, like, not at his house, you know? And he comes up and he's like, hey, what are you guys doing? And I'm like, trying to figure out how to put this TV on our car. He's all, oh, I'm driving down to Huntington, and he lives in Helper. So, and he was at Price Walmart. And he says, oh, I got my truck. I'm driving down there anyway. I got to go pick up some meat at the butcher's. We took the gooseneck thing out of his truck, and like, he drove it down for us. And we never see him anywhere but his house. And he was just there that day. And he was going to Huntington, which he never does. And my wife says, you know, the weirdest things happen for you. Like, you'll talk about something, and then something like this happens, and it just falls in your lap. You know, like somebody just shows up, and there it is, you know, and that doesn't always happen, but I guess it's happened enough times to where my wife was laughing about it, and she's all, well, you say this and you say that. I mean, those kids, like, I was loading our car with food, like, and they just, like, decided to come out of Sam's Club and start harassing me. I'd never seen these kids before in my life. And I was telling my wife, yeah, it's because, like, they might not know who I am, but those demons that they listen to do know who I am. You know, and it's why I've been in hundreds of fights, that I've never started one fight in my life. But like I said, because of the abuse of my past, I don't back down. I'm like, nope, you're not going to abuse me, and I don't care. And if I see somebody being abused by somebody, like, I've gotten in fights to protect other people before. Literally been in hundreds of fights, but I don't ever start them. But anyway, so I was like, yeah, these kids, they're just little rebellious buttheads. But, and then there's other things that happen too, and I'm just like, well, you know, like, it comes with the territory, you know. I got a mark on my head. It's a spiritual mark, and Satan doesn't like me. It's why I've seen him so many times in my life, and other demons, and been attacked. And like, my wife watched me get attacked, where I had scratch marks on my body from an unseen. She couldn't see them. I could. There were three large demons that came in and physically attacked me. Yeah, and it was a spiritual attack, but it was like physical manifestations, and she could see that I was being pushed down into the bed, and she thought I was having a seizure, but she said it was weird because, like, we just got done with the pool, and we were in Connecticut at the time in this hotel room, and she said it wasn't like I was shaking, like, because of a seizure, but she could see my stomach and my chest, and she said it was like you were vibrating, and I was being pushed down into the bed, and then, like, so in my mind, I like, cast them off and commanded them away, and I come flying up off the bed with both my arms to the square, casting them out of the room, and, like, wherever I sleep, I usually will bless the room, because this thing's happened to me a lot in my lifetime, where these things happen. In fact, that's part of the reason why by the time I was 18, I moved over 100 times, and I think I'd have to go back and look, but in my journal when I was, like, on my mission, I actually counted where I lived, when I lived there, because I could still remember. I can't remember everything anymore, but I think I probably could if I sat down and really thought about it, but I think there was, like, either 57 or 64 or something like that, different homes that I had lived in. And moving over 100 times means that sometimes I would go back and forth between the same houses that I had been to before, because I would be passed around from family member to family member. And if you're familiar with Poltergeist, what do they call it? Poltergeist 2. Like, I love that movie because it's kind of a scary movie, but it's about a family's love, and Caroline is being attacked by this demon figure named Cain. But her family went through hell to protect her and get her back. So that was the first movie. In the second movie, they moved to a different place, to Caroline's mother's house, and this entity finds them, and the whole thing starts again. And then Poltergeist 3, same thing, and that was my life growing up. I'd live somewhere for a month or two, and then the things would start happening again, poltergeist-like things. And it scared the crap out of everybody, but it would follow me around. So my favorite place to live was my grandparents' house, because they were blessed. They were blessed. They were good people. And, things might happen a little bit there, but they didn't happen that much. But they were old, so they couldn't take care of me all the time. So anyway, but now, first time I've ever had a house where I live there and I'm not moving and it's not renting and whatever. And I'm staying here because God told me to come to Emery County. He even told me to stay in Emery County, and he basically gave us this house. The way it happened was so cool. We're making payments, but the way it happened was so cool. Anyway, but if I'm wrong about all the things and I die an old man, I want to be buried in Emery County. I don't ever want to leave here. I love where I live. My little 10-acre farm with the house that we live in. I want to spend the rest of my life there. Of course, Heavenly Father told me when things get too dangerous to go to a specific spot down in southern Utah. I'm not going to say where on this video. But he told me, tell people this is where we're gathering. And nobody's gathered yet, at least not anybody that listens to me. There are people that I've talked to that have moved down to the area where I live that had a strong spiritual pull to move to the area. So I'm glad that those people are heeding the spirit. And I wish everybody would, but anyway, but with what happened and what has happened, and Jesus even told me when I spoke to him face to face in 2003, we sat down and just talked. And he said, all those things that you went through when you were younger, I allowed them to happen to you for my divine purpose. And he told me why, and I understand that, but it still hurts. The abuse that I received at the hands of my mother and my father and my stepfathers and other people, it hurts. And when I hear people talking about they have their family and they're going to do their Christmas thing or their New Year's thing or their Thanksgiving thing, I'm it makes me sad because I don't have that. My wife's family, they all live back in the East. We moved out here from New Hampshire. They're all back there, except for her brother, who's in Spokane, which is, far away as well. And it just upsets me because we don't really have blood family. I was kind of like an only child. And my sister that's young, I'm the oldest living. I'm the second oldest. The first one died at 17 weeks. My mom had a miscarriage when she was 19, and then she had me when she was 20. But I'm the oldest as far as it's concerned. In fact, my mom believes that my spirit came back and inhabited the second body. And that's very well possible. But I'm the oldest. But because I was the oldest and because of the things that started happening, even as an infant, and a toddler, the things that happened, and then the things that happened with my dad, and just all the things. Like, I was given away. My mom gave me away to some strangers, and my grandparents had to go find me to get me when I was 2. And then every time my mom could find some reason to get rid of me, she just did. And I don't have that maternal, the bond of my mother. I did have that with my grandmother, who would be 101 this year. She died a couple of years ago. She was almost 97 years old. But I don't have the extended family, and it upsets me. I wish I did. I wish I didn't live the life that I lived, but at the same time, because of the life I've lived, it has molded me into the person that I need to be. And because I've lived the life that I have lived, I turned to God at my lowest point. And because I turned to God, even though I was foreordained to be the person that I am and to do the things that I've been foreordained to do, it helped me to turn to God just all the way, and that's why I study so much. That's why I have studied so much. That's why God has given me so many revelations. And that's why I've seen God face to face. I've seen the Father and the Son face to face. I've embraced them in the flesh. So anyway, that is why, but also it's because when in 2013, when God took me up, he said, I was being excommunicated from the Mormon Church for believing in the Adam God doctrine, not teaching it, but believing it, as well as I had these really powerful experiences with the Father and the Son, and many experiences in the Spirit, visions, being out-of-body experiences where God would take me up in the Spirit and show me things and teach me things. But anyway, and so because my wife and I got married after 20 days after we first met in person, and I was a stranger because God told both of us, independent of one another, to marry each other. Her family flipped out, and her mom, even after we got married and came back to New Hampshire and whatever, her mom, my wife told her mom about some of the experiences that I've had. And she went and told the stake president. The stake president wants to meet me, and he's all mad because he says, oh, only the president of the church can have those kind of experiences. You're a bold-faced liar. And I was like, I didn't say dude, but I'm going to say it anyway. Dude. In 2004, I wrote a letter to President Hinckley about it. And President Hinckley sent L. Tom Perry, who was an apostle in the church, and he was still alive in 2013, to interview me about it. And he believed me. He slapped me on the back. He's like, well, God's the one that chooses his prophets because we sure don't. And I had the letter that I sent in was archived in 2 different places, and I have both archive numbers in the church, First Presidency Vault, and also I think it's in the General Vault, but I'm not sure. But I had that because I had everything in these binders, right? And I was like, well, you can talk to L. Tom Perry about it, to the stake president in Vermont, where our stake headquarters was. And he didn't care. He never checked it out. He excommunicated me when I couldn't even be there, and I was very upset. I'm like, God, I've given everything to follow you. And I haven't done anything wrong. And why am I being excommunicated? And he came to me, and I was praying to him, and he came to me and he said, kneel down before me and ask me who you are. And I was shown exactly who I am and why I was called to be the witness, to be the witness of the Father and the Son. And, um, I was foreordained after the war in heaven to take that place. And so, yeah, I was foreordained, but also because of my life and mortality and the specific circumstances in which I was raised, I was able to turn fully to God. And I just give my life and devote my life to Him, which I still do. But those things that happened to me when I was younger still hurt a lot. And sometimes I just cry. Like last week, I missed my grandfather so bad. He's been gone since 2005, November 1st, 2005. I sat and when I woke up in my sleeper of my semi-truck where I'm at now, I literally cried for 3 hours just because I miss having that connection with him and with my grandmother and having that familial connection with somebody. But like I have that with my wife. She's my best friend. And I love my kids so much. We have so much fun together. And I just love them to death. But like, my family doesn't care about me. In fact, mainly two, but three of my cousins, like, they started a podcast just to talk crap about me, because they found out, oh, Mark says this and Mark says that, and he thinks he's the one mighty and strong, and he thinks he's the witness of the Father and the Son, and like, and it went on for like 2 years, I think. They'd do a podcast every week about whatever I was doing and whatever stupid thing the Mormon Church is doing and whatever, but like, I was like, I listened to them. They made like commercials about me, and they were kind of funny, right? But like, I don't have anybody other than my wife and my kids. And between that, being rejected by my whole family, and when God revealed to me who I am, like, I literally used to have hundreds of friends. Like, it was funny. So in 2000 and I guess 10, 11, 12, well, anyway, so I used to like go to these church dances, and like my friend group would be like half of the flippin' cultural hall, and we'd all go out to Denny's after the church thing, or after these church singles dances, and like everybody loved me. They all called me Lazarus. But and when I found out who I am and told that to people, and I kept the other thing, like, I didn't talk about like my way in depth spiritual experiences with many people, but like, they loved being around me because the Spirit was so strong around me. But as soon as I told them, because God told me, be bold with your witness, the witness that I've given you, and teach the people, and I started doing that, and like, all these friends that I had, they're all gone. I still see memories and stuff on Facebook about, hey, this happened 15 years ago, and here's some pictures of you and all these people and whatever, and that they're gone. Like, they think I'm an apostate heretic, and we had good friendships, and they're all gone. And the majority of the people that I was friends with back then, they're all gone. And I've made new friends, but it upsets me. I don't have the friends that I do have down here. I can't talk to them about these things that are like these spiritual things, because they are not there. Um, and I do have a couple of people that I can talk to, but my friend over in Roosevelt, he gets me crap about stuff. But anyway, I don't know. This is a pretty long video for just having some rant. And I'm almost to the place where I deliver my crude oil to go into these big tanks, and then they load them on train cars and send them to Houston to make plastics and medicine and all kinds of different things. Like, I haul, for the most part, yellow wax crude, which has a ton of properties. Um, it's not. I do haul black wax crude, which is more for your oils and your gasolines and stuff. But anyway, I don't know. Just I'm just sad about certain things, but at the same time, I know that God's got my back. And I know that my friend Scott, even though it was a simple thing, like, God inspired him, whether he knew it or not, to be there at the right time, to go from Price down to Huntington, which he doesn't do, to pick up meat from the hunt. And, like, he was just there in his big gas-guzzling pickup truck that he doesn't drive around. And it was perfect. And then we've got this big 85-inch TV. And the other thing, too, like, it's just funny because, like, I was like, oh, that would be fun to have. $500 isn't bad for an 85-inch TV. And then it was gone. And then I was like, oh, well, it's fine. It's fine. I don't really need it. And then we came back, and like 2 weeks later, it's back, and I'm there, and it's an open box clearance this time, and it's down to $304 for an 85-inch TV, high definition, Hisense. I was like, oh, we're going to take that home. And yeah, we don't need it. But God blesses me with things on a certain level. Now, I've always wanted to be a truck driver and like own my own truck, and I hope I can get to that goal someday, and maybe that'll happen. But like, I'm so, like, my life is comfortable. Like, my body sucks, you know. I hurt for 2 days, sometimes 4 days, after I've been driving for 4 or 5 days. But at least I have the time to take off. You know, like this week I'm going to work 5 days. Good money, you know. I make like $550 a day. It's great. But I'm going to take 3 days off, and I'll probably be tired the whole 3 days. But, you know, I'm blessed. I'm also kind of cursed because I've got this mark on my head where Satan likes to inspire people to harass me because their demons know who I am. But you know what? Sometimes people know who I am too. Like, I've had people see light around me as I've spoke to them. I've had people recognize me all over the world, wherever I've been. I even had one guy in Nauvoo break down and cry when he saw me. He was a missionary for the church. And he knew exactly who I am. Like, pre-existence exactly. Exactly who I am. And, you know, it's nice when that happens. Not that I want to be worshipped. I just want to tell people, like, hey, you know, God does live. I've seen him. You know, God has taught me these things. You know, here's how you get revelation. You know, we can all be prophets. Like, you don't need to trust me, trust God, but go to God and get revelation and confirmation of the Spirit for yourself. Anyway, I'm pulling through the gate now, so I got to get going. But thank you for watching this. Thank you for everyone who follows me. And if you've made it this far, I appreciate it. It's nice to be heard. Even if all of the people who follow me are spread out all over the world. So anyway, hope you are all blessed, and God be with you till we meet again. Bye.